All right, let's dive into something that might just turn everything you thought you knew about reality on its head. It comes from a fascinating Buddhist sermon, and it all boils down to this one tiny assumption we make constantly without ever even noticing.
You know that feeling, right? You're always being pulled one way or the other. You either really want something or you really don't want something. And what's the usual advice we hear? Oh, just be neutral, be detached. But what if that's actually the wrong move? What if that's leading us down a completely wrong path? Yeah, because get this, the source for this says neutrality is a form of ignorance. Whoa. So that peaceful, neutral state so many of us are chasing, it might just be, well, a big misunderstanding. How on earth could that be possible? Okay, let's dig in.
So, first up, the trap of neutrality.
Think about your day. It's basically a constant battle between these two forces, right? On one side, you've got raga, that's attachment. It's the gimme, gimme, I want that feeling. It pulls things closer. And on the other side, you've got dvesha, which is aversion. That's the get it away from me, I don't want it. And we just ping pong back and forth between these two all day. So the logical thing to do is just stop, right? Reject the I want and the I don't want. And when you do that, you land right in the middle, in this state of neutrality, or upekkha. But here's the twist. This isn't the finish line. In fact, it's presented as just another problem, one that leads to delusion or moha. But why? Well, because when you're just sitting there, not pushing, not pulling, you kind of become passive. You're not engaged enough to see what the real problem is.
And that's because the issue isn't really about how we react to the world. It goes way, way deeper. It's about a core assumption we make about the world itself before we even get to liking or disliking it.
This is where we get to this amazing concept called manavahari. It basically translates to something. And it's this deep, deep, unquestioned belief that there is a something out there, a real, solid world that exists completely separate from our minds. And the argument here is that this one belief is the fundamental trap for every single being. Now, this is so important. This isn't just some abstract philosophy. This belief in something, it's literally the blueprint your mind uses to construct your entire world. It's the tiny seed that the whole cycle of suffering, of rebirth, grows from. Okay, so how does that actually work? It sounds pretty abstract, I know, but there's a brilliant analogy that makes it all click. Let's just take a simple object, like a cup. Seems pretty basic, right? You see a cup, you feel a cup. End of story. But we're about to look at this in a completely backwards way. Okay, so normally we think my eyes see the cup, and then my brain knows it's a cup. Simple. But this flips that completely on its head. It says, no, it starts with the mind already holding the idea of cup, and that idea is hungry for data to prove it exists. So the idea of cup literally demands an eye to see its shape. It demands a hand to feel its texture. The concept on the inside creates the senses on the outside. Just think about that for a second. It's a total reversal. The five senses don't create the one concept. No, the one concept demands the five senses. We're not building a picture of the world from scratch. Our concepts are reaching out and creating a world for themselves to live in. And here's where it gets really profound. This is the explanation for rebirth. When someone dies, their mind isn't just an empty slate. It's packed with concepts, full of manavahari, of something. So a mind that's holding onto the idea of world or me or even cup, it can't just float in a void. It has to create a new body, a new set of senses, so it can keep perceiving the very concepts it's built on. Okay, so how does knowing all this help us with that original problem? Getting stuck between is and is not. Right, let's go back to those extremes. On one side, we have the world of exists. The cup is on the table. On the other side, the world of does not exist. The cup is no longer on the table. To us, these look like two completely opposite situations, two different realities. But wait a minute. Ask yourself this. For these two statements to even make sense, for you to even have an argument about whether the cup is there or is not there, what one thing do you have to take for granted? What's the unexamined assumption that both sides depend on? The cup. That's it. The problem was never is it here or is it gone? The real trap, the real issue, was the mind's rock-solid, unquestioned belief in the concept of cup to begin with. That's the real source of the conflict. And this brings us to the grand finale. This completely redefines what the middle path actually is. Let's use one last analogy to really hammer this home. Imagine two people arguing. Statement A, it is raining. Statement B, it is not raining. They're saying the complete opposite, right?
Well, yeah, but think about it. For them to even have that argument, they both have to share a solid, unquestioned foundation, the concept of rain. The debate isn't actually about the weather. It's fueled by the underlying idea that creates both sides of the argument.
So the true middle path isn't about finding some wishy-washy neutral spot between is and is not. No, it's the wisdom to see the concept underneath, the cup, the rain, the me, that is creating both extremes to begin with. It's about seeing the root of the whole game.
And that brings us right back to you. The question isn't what do I want or what do I not want? The real question is much deeper. What are the unquestioned assumptions, the Manawaharis that are creating the push and pull in your world? Because seeing that, well, that's where true freedom really begins.